Yeah.
to like do this shit. And I think that that's like that makes sense to me. Um,
See if I have the old. I got the old list, the old air table.
anyways, yeah, let's get started though. I want to just at least get started with the structure of the meeting. I have to be kind of done around 7:30. Um, it's like I can explain it to you guys later, but I don't want to right now. So yeah, so here we are, January 12th, 2026. Welcome back again. Here we are doing council related things. Um, I didn't do a full edit of the document here, but like I see Fury was here. Fury's here. Fury, do you want to kind of give us a update on what you think that has been going on for outreach for the week? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Sorry. I shared. Oh, Yayo's not able to make it to the call. All right, he's gonna listen. Okay, so check transparency report. Sorry, we're getting Yayo caught up here real fast. Okay. Yayo, are you able to get up, or are you still at the house? Are you not going to be able to get up just listening? He, who's what? Oh, who's leading the spaces? It's just me on Thursdays. No.
Nope. Nobody else. Bagman had one.
Yeah, Bagman once in a while, but not any kind of routine. Okay. I think it's I think it's fine. It just like in general, the spaces tend to be the same people, and so without having some kind of outreach for people to let them know that it's going to be available, it's unlikely that new people are going to show up. Okay. Yeah, I don't mind it.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe add something like create a wallet or something like that for the to get the incentive. Just something to boost new people.
Okay. Yeah.
No,
Let's,
what I was I didn't mean it for the payments. I just meant like inviting people to the space and they create a wallet and maybe make a transaction, then they would qualify for some sort of reward instead of just attending the space by itself. It's kind of what I was suggesting.
Yep.
yeah. Well, let's Henrik. Man, we don't. I haven't heard about anything about it yet so far. Hopefully, hopefully soon. I mean, if you can, sure. I mean, we were told that Henrik was going to be back after the New Year's, and he was going to be able to like take a look at the stuff. That one is the major one. The other one is the work that he's going to have to do in order to transition the network to the next kind of the next iteration. And so, I mean, ultimately, he's going to have to get involved in some way. His code is involved in the like voice swarm thing, so we need him for that if we're going to keep using it. It's possible that people will just no longer use it; they'll use something else, and that's fine too. But we need to have some kind of an idea about that. Yep, I think it's already updated, but he's not going to be able to help us update the entire Void network. Right. Yeah, there's work that has to happen behind the scenes in order for the network itself to update prior to the nodes voting to update. How
Yeah,
many cats? How many
when
cats
I
you got
spoke to
there,
Gov,
Jerry?
oh, I was I was just gonna say on that topic when I spoke to Gov this week about that, I typed up some notes in our chat, but he has been reaching out to Heinrich a couple of times and still got no traction and is going to continue pursuing that. That was the last word I got, I think, on Tuesday, Wednesday this last week. FYI.
How many cats you got going on there, Fury? How many cats you got? Nice, dude. That's a lot. That's awesome. They're fun. They're fun animals. Oh my gosh. All right, let's breeze through some of this other stuff here. Um, So I'll tell you guys, DorkFi, we've closed our fundraising round in the initial fundraising round at $69,000, which is cool. Exactly 69,000, which is super cute. We haven't heard anything new from House of VOI, but I know that they've been creating their interface and they're continuing to do what they're doing. I assume that we're going to hear more from them after they kind of reach some regulatory clarity. So, but we're just going to keep talking about them until then. VOI wallet, I don't think there's any updates. I also don't think there's any additional updates for other stuff that Zarmian's been working on.
What is
I
his
guess
other thing that he's working on? What was that? The
he's been
vibe
working like he has a bunch of shit going on. He's got Snowball Swap. He's got a few other things. He's got
vibe coding one.
Yeah. I guess we could also say Shelly's here, so he's gonna get upset if I don't talk about it. DorkFi has also had a couple of additional things that have happened this week. Increases to like the way people are able to interact with their portfolios. We've been doing just a bunch of other kind of smaller things this week.
Are you guys gonna integrate Meld Gold? I got some waiting to migrate.
Meld Gold, Shelly, Meld Gold. What do you think? Yeah, he says yes.
Excellent.
All right, let's keep going. Yayo's gonna have the easiest job ever checking over this thing. No additional proposals that have come up. We've got some proposals that are on hold. The Nobidex hosting costs that we just kind of took care of prior to this meeting. If anybody wasn't there, aka Yayo, Wilder showed up and talked to us a bit about that. I think that the summary of that meeting could be that I recommended that they look at where else they could receive the costs to offset the hosting, aside from just kind of defaulting to VOI to do it. And what else did we talk about there?
I think someone mentioned tapering down the end point of where they would receive rewards.
Yeah. To Yayo's question about whether or not Wilder is a part of the team, it's a question mark for me. He's not officially part of the team. He's attempting to help out. I came up with there's a Netflix movie. There's a Netflix movie called Relay, where they use a Americans with Disabilities Act service to have somebody call in and have somebody else read what they're saying. And I was saying maybe that's like a good option for the future for web dev. He can just kind of call in. Yeah, Shelly, have you seen that one? That's a good one.
That was a good movie.
So yeah, maybe web dev can call in with that service, and he can say, hey, like this is what I'm feeling, and some woman or man on the thing can read it to us. That'd be kind of cool. But that was the extent of the meeting. I think Wilder went away with it, realizing that there were like other options for funding instead of just asking the council. And we also kind of made it known that we were interested in web dev, like staying around and building things. We just like it's a slippery slope to start paying for somebody's infrastructure costs, because it's not just him. It's not just Nobidex. It's DorkFi, anything that Shelly's involved in, anything that's related to NFTs, anything that's related to infrastructure of any kind of thing. you end up like in a situation where you feel like you need to pay for that stuff. And so we need to like take it very seriously. It can't just be, you know, like a knee jerk thing because because it's only $120 to start with or whatever. VOI consensus update. So things that need votes, the consensus update details and the BA exit strategy thing, those are both up and available for voting. I know that Bogan touched base with Gov this week, and we actually got like a pretty good update from Gov about what was going on. Bogan, do you want to talk about that at all right now?
Well, I'm a little unprepared without my notes there at home. I'm in the truck, but
You're in the truck. Yep.
yeah, the BA exit. I mean, it's been made clear that BA, as of the end of 2025, is no longer receiving any block rewards. I think we're just waiting on an update on the VOI auditor rewards to reflect the appropriate APR with those wallets being blacklisted. So, I don't really know how much validity that proposal really has at this point, because I think that's the main, the meat of the proposal. So,
Yeah,
and
the
then,
veto got shut down. Yeah.
so I don't really know. Does it need a vote? I mean, are we going to blacklist the wallets that are already not receiving rewards?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I don't think so. I mean, it's what we expected to happen. They said they were going to decline
Right.
them. So.
Right. Plus, we need their help with the consensus network upgrade, because those nodes and wallets, even though they're not collecting rewards, they're going to be key in voting through the consensus mechanism,
Yeah.
because that will be a large percent of what's needed in order to flip to the next version of the network.
Yeah. Correct.
So it really doesn't make sense to pass it.
So I just moved it to the hold, and then we'll take it off there because it'll just be on hold and then just fall off. It's the best thing I know really to do with it.
Sounds good to me.
All right. But I remember that you did talk to Gov, and he was helpful with the information about how it all moved forward. I have the notes somewhere, but I don't know where they are.
Yeah, I mean, we could stick on that topic for just from my memory. The other things, I didn't see it, but I don't know. Gov did say he would put forward a document on 2026 plans for block authority, and
Oh, you guys
we
have
had
provided.
yeah. Well, then we had the discussion about a WAD from the Treasury, and he's personally all for it. He was going to talk with the rest of the members of Block Authority, but really sees no reason why that's a bad idea. And I don't know if we want to have a discussion as the council on that, but I'm all for it. Upping the number of stable coins minted is just a plus for the blockchain and for the numbers, and another option for payment, and gives us more flexibility.
And it didn't really change that much, too, when you thought about it.
Right. So, I mean, do we need a proposal from somebody to make that happen, make it official? Do we wait for Block Authority to have an official statement on it? I don't know what we want to do.
We can ask about that. I don't think it'd be a big deal for us to create like a memo or whatever, like a proposal. I don't know what the kind of proposal would be, but some kind of proposal that basically states that it's the policy going forward that it's available.
Guess it would be a policy change, right?
Yeah, it'd be a policy change, right? Yeah, you're right.
Yep.
So maybe we just go ahead and move forward with submitting a policy change and vote on it and submit it. They're going to sign it. They like it, so it's fine.
Who wants it? I can make it up.
Cool. So we'll, Yayo, for your notes, we'll have Nuss put forward a policy change proposal that states that that grants in the future don't necessarily need to be from just VOI. They can also be using WAD. And I don't know if we want to make it like super broad. We don't want to say like just any stable coin on VOI. We don't, because we want to have some kind of control over what the stable coin is, maybe. But I would make it specific to WAD, I guess.
Yep.
Anchored down to a certain VOI amount. Shelly's messaging me. Hold on. Are you talking about like having it be like a certain total VOI amount for the ecosystem thing? Because that's like kind of already in place. Basically, what we would do is we would attach a USD value to. Well, it's all these proposals already have a USD value, right? It's like under $10,000, and it doesn't have anything to do with like the VOI amount.
Well, we got a proposal that says that they can't submit a proposal in USD.
No. I'm talking about like the micro ecosystem versus whatever else. Isn't it like a USD value?
Yeah, the above 10 and below 10. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's already kind of like a USD value associated with how those things work. So I would just apply WAD, to that and say it's above or below 10,000 WAD for those things.
So would we suggest offer option of the choice of getting VOI or WAD? And then who's going to do the transfer? Yeah, who's going to do the swapping?
Well, that's the challenge. Is I think that Gov, aka the Treasury, is probably going to need to mint WAD from the VOI Foundation's like VOI Treasury amount. And Shelley's talking about requesting VOI should only be able to request mintable WAD. I don't know if it's like, I don't know how it's going to work, but this is like the kind of the meat and potatoes of it. We start off with a concept where WAD is an acceptable amount or acceptable thing to request, and then it gives maybe the council the flexibility to say, we'll approve things on a scale of VOI to WAD, but we might give deference over proposals that have a substantial like WAD amount and staked VOI amount compared to like straight VOI unlocked, So I don't know how to.
I know we were talking about basically have minted the WAD. I'm trying to remember from last week.
Well, if they requested it in their proposal if they was going to want the WAD or
they would get the WAD equivalent of the VOI, which would be the minted WAD that you could get with that VOI. And if they wanted to pay back that wad, they would own a contract that would allow them to do that. Something.
So we're gonna need somebody to write the contract.
Yeah, so we would need that. There'd be a little bit of heavy lifting on that.
Okay, so we got some stuff to work on with that. We need to talk to a few people.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so I mean, I guess but we do need to kind of like break it out into certain things, right? There needs to be a decision about like if WAD will be minted by the Treasury, and then a decision about accepting WAD versus VOI as a grant request. Oh, so Shelley's talking about setting the value of the grant as a WAD amount, regardless of mix of WAD or VOI, because it sets it as kind of like a USD value, so that if the price of VOI or whatever changes in the future, it's set at a certain amount that we've approved.
Flat boy, yeah. Gotcha. But it wouldn't be flat, it would be okay. Some
Yeah,
good thing to think about there.
Yeah, would we? So the first step would be to just, I guess, decide maybe like a poll if we're even going to go forward with this. Then we would probably want to work. It'd probably be more up to the Treasury how they'd want to go about this. What would the Treasury feel comfortable doing?
Maybe
and then
it'd
how
be
the
just
proposals work.
yeah.
A gov question.
And would we be comfortable with them asking for WAD in the proposal?
Well,
Or
that
would
I
we
think
then
everybody.
or would they have to ask for a VOI amount and then we would just give them? Okay, that's okay. I got my head around this.
Yeah, I think it is like a gov question regarding the Treasury stuff, but I think so far what I'm hearing is people are saying that they're comfortable accepting a grant request related to WAD or a fixed WAD amount that becomes a portion of it would become VOI later on or whatever.
We could do that
Yeah,
in the token request too to the WAD, so they could just get the VOI from the and if it gets awarded, then when they do their token request, they could request the WAD in that portion.
I guess we could we'd have to decide whether they could have access to the contract and get the VOI back if VOI goes up, or once they accept it in WAD, is it just WAD until they die?
I think that's the question is like, if you're accepting it in VOI, then you're basically accepting price fluctuation, and if VOI goes up in value, then you're doing well, and if it goes down, then you're doing poorly. If you accept it in WAD, you're essentially accepting more stability for your grant, and you're fucked if it goes up, and you're okay if it goes down.
But yeah, I guess if we do it that way, it would actually be maybe even better than them just taking the VOI from the grant, immediately minting WAD.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's better to have the Treasury mint. Bagman wants to talk. This is great. He can talk better than I can. I think it's better for them to just mint the wad and then issue the wad from the treasury, as opposed to having somebody else like kind of having it be up to them to go and do it. But Bagman, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different ways that you could potentially do it. One way that I think I was kind of like brainstorming this with Gov and haven't really, talked with Shelly about it. But one thing that you could potentially do is like give people an option to, get paid in WAD, but it would be paid through grant pay where you have, like, no matter what, they are receiving VOI, but that would be like a locked contract, and they would get a portion of their VOI in WAD at the same time as that, and the contract itself, or like the wrapped N VOI or dork, and you'd have to either pay back the VOI, or I'm sorry, pay back the WAD in order to get your unlock your N dork, your staked VOI, I guess, if you will. And one other thing that I know that Gov was talking about too, and I think it's worth discussion, is like for these types of, and just any type of grant kind of moving forward too, thinking about, having a locked schedule anyways on just about everything that goes out. So then these would be kind of like, locked contracts. They'd be like future VOI, essentially, that would unlock over time,
Yeah.
either based on milestones or based on, um, a time weighted average or something. And that could be like it wrapped into the grant pay contract is like, all right, you opted in to get WAD. You still own the rights to all of the VOI. So here's the contract and here's your WAD. And you, in order to get back your VOI, you have to repay the WAD eventually.
So would that be like in a vault? Could we do like vaults with that?
Yeah, it'd be essentially like a vault.
Yeah.
Now, I've had some conversations with Shelly about some of these things, but I think there needs to be a little bit more thought put into it. It just depends on like what does the grant recipient want? Are they okay with receiving, a portion? Say you had, you know, like a million VOI in this example, right? Are you okay with getting like, what is it? It would be like 500 WAD to a million VOI. Or it would have to be like a fraction of that. So it depends on like what what that grant recipient wants.
Well, yeah, they could just go and sell it though straight away. Though
Well,
I mean,
it also goes down to like yeah, it's what the grant recipient wants, but if whatever we approve is not what they want, they can always just say no, that's not what I'm interested in, you know. So like it gives us the flexibility to say here's what we're thinking, you know, this is what we want to do.
Or it's just like an option, right? It's an option that they can either opt for. You can opt to get 30% of your grant paid out today in WAD. And then, over time as your grant unlocks, you would either repay the WAD or, yeah, I guess that would be the way to unlock the VOI.
Just judging from some of these grants, could we have just mint the WAD based on weight from mint the full amount of WAD minus whatever it is, 20% or
Mhm.
25%.
And you
in
just have to
the
remember
initially.
that recipient just has to remember that there is like a 1% interest on it.
I'm just thinking though, could we, if we minted that and uh, and this gave them the wad, maybe put the wad in the vault, gave the wad out as like whatever over time, and then the contract would just the VOI staked VOI would just sit separately, and they just wouldn't have access to that VOI.
Well, like if I was the treasury, like I'd mint a bunch of wad, I'd like put it in a pool somewhere and earn yield on it, and then I would like not worry so much when I put out these grants.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that would be one of the more like the better way to like use the ecosystem. Get more utilization out of Humble and Nomadex and Dorfi in general. And there's enough yield there right now if you pair that it would pay back the 1% interest rate on minting wad, because it's ridiculously low right now and will be for some time.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So that's like up for you guys to talk about, is like, all right, how much of the treasury do we want to like collateralize and borrow, wad to pay out people with? How much demand is there going to be for this? And I can tell you right now, like, we have a perfect example of someone who wanted to be paid in wad previously when this came up, and he's in this call right now, and it's Fury. So you could ask him even like, hey, would you rather be paid in wad than VOI right now?
What do you think, Fury?
Mhm. And I was hearing something similar from EZK the other night as well. That just and it, to be honest, that's kind of like why we built it. you know. Uh, and something else that just for you guys to know too that we're working on, and we had talked a lot about previously, early on, but needed to, make sure that our priorities were met before we were able to do this. But it's being able to, borrow against your locked contracts as well. So the pre or what should I say, testnet VOI earnings,
Yeah.
being able to borrow against those testnet VOI earnings is something on our roadmap that'll be happening sooner rather than later. So I think that that's going to be another, opportunity for people across the board to be able to unlock some liquidity, and it also presents an opportunity for you guys as the council to kind of reduce some of the sell pressure as well in the future. Because right now you have like it's a 78% collateral factor against VOI, So you could think of like, all right, we could, lock up a certain amount of the treasury, pay out wad, and that 1% interest rate that you're paying on it beats out the like 8 to 10% negative sell pressure that ends up happening as well. So it's like, all right, would you rather, pay 1% over time through a WAD loan, or, you know, have immediate drawdown when these payments go out of like 8 to 10%, which is, I think, what the numbers are, if I'm not mistaken. But like, one thing that you guys would want to, consider is you'll probably want to like um, keep your loan in a healthy position. So you wouldn't want to borrow more than like, even 50%, I think is a lot. You need to lock up. You'd probably want to lock up. Uh, you probably would want to only borrow like 30 or 40%. And that could be something you just reevaluate over time. What are the current, expenses right now in US dollars, or even in VOI? Like, what is it overall? Like, what do you guys pay out on a monthly basis? Who knows that? We should know. Everyone should know.
Yeah.
Of course.
Because that's the other thing too, is the other side of this option is offer people a higher amount of void with a longer contract so that it's not immediately sold.
Yeah, and I'd be okay with like taking it locked too. Like, it doesn't matter to me really.
Yeah.
But I'm a builder here, so it's a little different than in Fury's case. He's got a team, and I'm an individual who's running these meetings, and you know we obviously have our team, but we have got other things going on for it, and so ultimately, like, my point that I'm trying to get to is like, what are the like, if you can figure out who might want WAD payments and what those payments would be, then you can figure out pretty easily like how much VOI you'd want to lock up as a council.
Can we change it to just straight paying out WAD, and then you can option to get more VOI, more value in VOI in a locked contract?
Yeah, I mean, you guys can do whatever. I think that would make sense to me too. Like, I think that people would be making the best decisions for their situation.
Yeah.
And it might be like something you add to the proposal form. So when people submit a proposal, it's like, hey, do you want to be paid in WAD, or at this, or do you want to be paid in VOI, and it'll be a locked contract over a certain period of time or whatever.
Cool.
All right, can we
But
continue?
yeah, I do
This-
think that it should, you should create a standard for this, you know. So like that would be, as I heard earlier too, before I had to, I lost service there for a minute. I think there was a question around like what type of, like, is this a policy change or whatnot? And yeah, it would be like a policy procedure, so, or proposal.
Cool.
And then, like, what if you change the policy, then Wood Fury, well, he's working on a 1 month rollover, so he could go and like submit another, proposal or whatever to change the way that he's getting paid out at that point. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be super helpful. I think that should, like, it'd be really cool to have like a dashboard with that. Maybe it's something that you could pay, or we could, give Zarmian a retro on to like create that on voidrewards.com, or even just like I don't know, some type of tracker for it. Which you guys, you might even have something like that. So like that would be something that, as a community member and on the from the Voyager committee, I think there is value in it. Hmm. Yeah, totally. No, I like the uniform and just kind of one place to see that stuff. Um, Sweet. And obviously, it's going to change over time as there's more proposals that are written. But I do see this as a way, um, to attract even more people to submit proposals now that the council is paying out in a stable coin rather than just straight VOI. Or whenever if and when that happens. Um, I could see more interested parties submitting proposals and getting more activity going, especially people who are out trying to earn marketing dollars and things like that. I know EZK had mentioned that he knows other people that would be interested in doing things like shit posting and just generally getting the word out. And I think it's more palatable for people to be paid in WAD. And there was, I remember, last week, I think it was during the space that I hosted on Wednesday last week. Um, there was some conversation about the potential of like USDC getting drained out of the ecosystem because people would be swapping WAD for USDC to go pay their bills or whatnot. But what ends up happening is the the APY will go higher on USDC deposits and pairings on WAD and USDC, on Humble and on Nomadex. And so someone will see an opportunity there, and it creates a flywheel effect of driving more USDC deposits and creating stability across the ecosystem when you have really attractive yield from that standpoint. So overall, I see it as like a positive for the entire ecosystem. number one, it gets more WAD utilization and usage, and it's a key cornerstone to the ecosystem in general. Number two, it's going to drive USDC deposits into the ecosystem as well, which will create more value locked overall across the board, not just in DorkFi, but in Humble and in Nomadex. And then it prevents, the mass dumping of VOI, and it also creates a more attractive uh, opportunity for people to want to come and do some work here.
Yeah, it's huge. Huge.
No, from a Voyager committee meeting, like ecosystem standpoint, I think that the we yeah mar- those exchanges are, it's a dirty business, market making on those exchanges, and I think that it would create probably some more sell pressure. I would say that from an onboarding standpoint, on an off ramp standpoint, it does make sense to have an exchange listing, but you got to figure out like if they're going to like move the goalposts on us like the way that Mexi did, and basically just create a situation where you have to continue to give more and more voy to them or they delist you. uh, so I would be against it unless they don't really care, and how much like liquidity there is on their platform, and if they're planning on bringing their own USDC to pair to the game. I mean, well, it, it might be worth having like a conversation with them, just one meeting to see what's going on. So um, I wouldn't just, yeah, maybe we just have like one call with them to see what their terms are, and entertain the idea, because just to go through the due diligence process. But if it's set up in such a way that Mexi was set up and Coinstore was set up, we don't want to participate in that type of exchange. Um, so you know, I don't know. I've had, yeah, yeah, that sounds good, and I'd be happy from a ecosystem, from the Voyager ecosystem committee, to hop on a call as well and just see what's up. It'd be nice to have
Details
at
up front.
least one other council member on that call as well. And Fury, if you want to join, it'd be good to have a couple people at least to hear this guy out.
Or just ask for the details up front in a chat. Say
Yeah,
what's the basics, and you can decide if you want to follow up.
yeah, that's probably the best route.
I'm generally available. I can help out, but I'd like to see what he's saying before I decide to have a meeting, because I think it's probably going to be bullshit.
Yeah, see if there's like, what are the capital requirements for the listing, and yeah, just ask what the capital requirements are and if there are any other requirements.
And if it seems and if it seems even slightly viable, please record the meeting.
Yeah. Yeah, we can do that for sure. But yeah, if it's like, hey, we need, $10,000 worth of VOI and $10,000 worth of USDC in order to get this thing listed. We're going to use our own market makers to make the market. Um, that's something that we don't want to do. So yeah, we'll just see what the capital requirements are and if there's any other listing requirements that they're looking for. If not, you know, that it doesn't hurt to have void listed somewhere if it's a very low, excuse me, low bar. But a lot of times from the past experiences that we've had, and I'm just thinking back to when we passed and approved, and I can't really talk specifically to the details because I'm still under an NDA. But there were significant capital requirements for um, the three exchanges that we were listing on CoinStore. There was capital requirements for like very high capital requirements for MEXC, and then Bing. There was also, I think it was a little bit less, but the thing with Bing was they got hacked like a day before we had our TGE, so we decided to put a pause and never revisited, um, just because their entire exchange got drained. And we were like, yeah, we don't we don't want to give you guys a bunch of VOI and then the exchange get drained, and then you know from a fiduciary responsibility standpoint, we would be out on, I think, yeah, I can't really speak to how much it was, but it was more than $5,000 worth of VOI at the time.
Yeah, I've got to go. I've got my folks coming over here with the dog, but I'll be back later, and you guys can finish up. I'll just be on mute.
Yep, sounds good. What do you know what exchange it was? I'm just kind of curious too. Is maybe they have some of that information online already? Okay, cool. Yeah, it also we'd also want to know like if they're you know if they have like KYC requirements, if they have um, if they're even available in the US as well. Not that that is like something that prevents us from maybe doing something with them, but I would say looking back at at least the coin store, it wasn't available in the US and also MEXC, and that was like a big thing. I can remember Scotchka saying, and us, and I don't know if Bogan was, but a decent amount of the community members, they were like, yeah, I don't even use the application, or like I don't even use
Yeah,
that on ramp or off ramp because it's not available in the US, and that was like the bulk of our users at the time.
yeah.
Um, so
And I
I
thought
didn't.
they had a lot of nerve keeping moving the goalpost, but yet having no plans to ever client in the U.S.
I think the more another yeah, another important thing to maybe ask too is like how they're planning on doing market making and if they're able to share who their market makers are. Yes, there are market makers that are doing market making activity. I think web dev is one of them. And then we have the automated, the AMMs. So the Nomadex and Humble are technically automated market makers. But we had an agreement with a market maker um, early on, and we believe that that was one of the reasons why the token price went from 3 cents to where it is today. Was there was a mass sell-off event from one of the market makers that in some ways I can't remember exactly, and it's hard to say if they did, like, you know basically rug us, but that's pretty much what happened. Was one of the market makers that we were dealing with, um we gave them some tokens to do the market making, and then they just sold the tokens and exited market making for us. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing that we can do about it now. Yeah, that's what happened, though. And
Hindsight always 20.
it was hard for us to prove anything, and it was also done on an exchange that was not, like, technically listed in the US. So we can't, like, go and be like, "Hey, these guys broke the law." But yeah, it was hindsight 2020. We shouldn't have done that. If I were to do it all over again, I would not have listed on any exchange, um, and focused on building on and off ramps right out of the gate, and and launched and did our TGE on our own without having any exchanges or anything like that. At the time, we needed those exchanges in order to get listed onto CoinGecko and show that legitimacy, um, because that was kind of that was the thing when we launched in general. That was like what you did. And then I think the trends have changed in a lot of ways where you there are other avenues, but this was like before you know you could do uh, like a pump fund type of raise, or other types of launches. Um, so yeah, hindsight 2020. Um, but this is why I'm like very cautious about working with exchanges in general. And another example of like a token that we all know very well, that as soon as they listed and started dealing with market makers that were outside of their control, um, the token suffered significantly. Is Monco. They went and they listed on an tier three exchange, and then look what happened. So what I want to avoid is listing the token, giving tokens to a market maker or to an exchange, and then having that exchange just dump even more. And that's why we made the decision to leave MEXC. And I don't know if we're still listed on Coinstore or not. I never had an account there, even was able to get into it. So yeah, I'm not sure. We might even be listed on Coinstore still. I don't. But yeah, there it came to a point where, as a council, we made the decision, and as a community, we made the decision. I can remember this being kind of a lengthy, conversation that we had with everyone at the time, of like, hey, what do you guys think if we just, you know, cut ties with MEXC and start to focus on our own on and off ramps? And what I think happened, and or at least looking back on it, we started to focus more on our own core infrastructure. I by VOI, came into existence, and that definitely helped things out. And there's those mechanisms, and then of course you have uh, Aramid as our kind of next best way to on ramp. Uh, but we pushed the innovation in our favor, and I kind of wish we had started that way. But um, hindsight's 2020, and we did need MEXI and exchanges at the time. Um, it didn't really help us in the long run, but uh, you know, lessons were learned there. Hopefully that helps provide some color to that question. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for keeping it on the docket too, because on the plus side, it's like, all right, if it's listed and the capital requirements are very low, it provides an on and off ramp, and then maybe we list some other ecosystem tokens on there as well, and then we've got on and off ramps for other projects too. Um, but it just depends on what those capital requirements are. It's like, and then what's their market look like? It's who's going to be trading the token, and that type of thing.
Yep. Hey, there was one more thing. I was just messing around with Chat GPT or on Grok. Anyway, they was telling me we can get a Google ad for like $10 to $20 a month. So, anybody's thoughts on that? Like where it would pop up? You only pay like 4 cents.
Is it like a pay per click ad?
It's I assume I just anybody if you guys want to check it out, man, it is just go Google Ads and it will pop right up. So, if you guys want to look into it, maybe check it out. Something. Okay.
Oh, they changed the rules. You can run crypto ads on Google.
Okay.
And
So,
personally,
so
I think it would be more effective, and this is just my own opinion. And I have been, I've worked in the advertising business previously, and I know enough about it to have an opinion on it. But I think it would go further. Our reach would go further if we were just paying people to tweet, and we just have to have a strong message on why people should be tweeting and what we should be tweeting. Like from an advertising standpoint, you got to have like a strong call to action in order to get like any results. So you have to think through, what do you want to advertise? Where do you want to where do you want to send people? What do we want the results to be before we go and actually like execute the campaign? Um, so you want to just like, well, this is why I kind of keep saying, we should set some performance indicators and set some goals for you know new wallets or market activity, or certain things that we want to see happen. And then um, and then from there we can decide like, all right, these are all the different ways that we can advertise. How are we going to achieve these goals, and then make some decisions on how, and set a budget, and then make some decisions on how we want to try to achieve the goals. And we can try multiple different advertising formats and avenues, um, without having those like goals in mind. um, do we, is it like a brand awareness thing that we're looking for, or is it like, hey, we want people to download the wallet and buy VOI, or you know, yeah, that it's you got to have that kind of goal
yeah,
before, so that you can measure the success and of the advertisement itself.
okay,
Not to say that it's not a good idea, because I do think that like we are at a point where there's enough like ecosystem things to do on the chain to do advertising. But I think we should be thoughtful about how we spend the funds, and how we measure the success of those campaigns. But I don't want to shoot it down. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think X might be a little bit better, just because we know that that's where a lot of our audience is right now. And that's where our kind of like ideal user profile, like the ideal customers that we want to bring to the platform, I guess, if you will. I don't want to call them customers, but end users. They live on X. And so I would kind of lean a little bit more towards doing like boosted posts like that. But yeah, I totally think that we need a strong call to action. I think that's a good idea. Um, that is a strong, call to action. Um, Totally, and maybe it's like a combination of hey, or no, it's like hey, this would drive people to need to buy boys to like participate in the hackathon, but you would want you'd want to make it so that the prize is in like WAD, right? So that it's like a US dollar based prize, and you can be like, oh yeah, here's like $5,000 in it. I think one of the things that was like there was some pushback, on the hackathon previously because it was too open ended, and we there's kind of like two forms of two outcomes that you can get from hackathons, right? You can get you know use it as a marketing tool. That's one way, and then you can use it as a way to get incentivize people to actually like build usable things, and those are two very different kind of um, approaches to running the hackathon itself. And so it's just like, all right, do we want more builders building shit that we actually need, or do we want to use it as a way to market? Um, so you know, mhm, yeah.
I think we ran through the whole list on the agenda.
And we can talk a little bit more about the hackathon idea and marketing and stuff during. I'll add it as an agenda item in the Voyager ecosystem committee meeting because it's worth exploring even further and just kind of dialing it in. Mhm.
Hey, one question I had real quick. Seems like the meetings usually are kind of held to an hour. Is there something that says like we should have the meeting for an hour, or is that just something somebody come up with? Okay, cool.
Sweet. Thanks,
Yeah.
everybody.
Second. Have a good night.
Good night, guys.
All right.
I might spin up a space if you guys want to chat a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm down.
Cool.
I do.
Sounds good. I'll catch you.